listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. Mark Dykton, I'm going to go out on a limb and say our next guest has probably heard this fight song a time or two.
I'd imagine he knows all the words to it probably, too.
Oh, gosh. Congrats to the Virginia Cavaliers on the win last night. The Pacers back in action tonight. Pacers and Bulls inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now, and it is the head coach, Rick Carlisle. Coach, good morning. Congrats to your Hoos.
What a game. Gosh, it was unreal.
Tremendous game. Great back and forth. Yeah, shot making, the shot to send it into the second overtime, I probably won't get over for quite a while. And yes, as your text did say, it was indeed a long ride home for me. So thank you.
Well, it's hard to root against either team as that game was unfolding. I mean, both teams were just going so hard. And Virginia was trying to figure out, how to get back into it and then how to get over the hump. And then, Notre Dame just, young team. And, I don't know all the players, but, Micah is over there coaching his brains out and going, just doing everything possible. His son hits that one shot, and you think, yeah, that's it, But, Virginia's experience, and I guess in the end, showed through. And the kid, the smallest kid in the court, had quite an impact, Mallory, for them. So it was a great win for them, and I'm sure there will be a lot of growth for a young Notre Dame team.
Indeed. Are you a college basketball watcher a lot, on off nights, or how much college basketball do you watch, would you say, during the season?
I wouldn't say a lot normally, but I'm quite familiar with the Virginia team because I was down there a lot this spring and fall, and probably saw, I don't know, anywhere from 15 to 18 of their practices, and got to know the team very well. And Ryan Odom I've known for ages. He was a ball boy when I was a player back then and back in the 80s. And he's obviously doing a phenomenal job. So I have an interest in it. And so I watch their games when I can. They had a very disappointing game against Carolina on Saturday. So that was really tough. And then, the first half of this game last night was even tougher. But they found a way. So it was quite a night.
It was. Chatting with the Notre Dame staff before the game, and they were very, very impressed by what Virginia's done this season. Obviously, you saw that when the game was on the line last night. Again, Pacers Bulls tonight inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Rick Carlisle and company back from a long, long road trip. I did want to start with certainly one of the individuals. You go back to that Thunder win, Coach, and that is Jarrace Walker. You've brought up the word force a lot with him and where you want to see growth. In particular with him, where have you seen him grow here over the last few weeks, few months?
Really in all areas. His level of experience, he's experienced a lot of the highs and lows that young players go through. The expectation of being a high draft pick and just feeling like it's going to be an opportunity is going to be handed to you. And then, in our case, we acquire Toppin and we trade for Siakam, and really it's like the door was shut on the 4 position for him. And then he really has transitioned over to the 3, and he's played a lot more 3 than 4 over the last couple of years. But he's doing very, very well. I think that's obvious. His running is really good, shooting the ball great. Driving the ball he's made a big uptick in his ability to drive and finish. We know defensively that he's a guy that has some special abilities with his length, strength, ability to get his hands on balls, things like that. And then the rebounding's always been there. So he's doing well. And so now the challenge is to maintain and to continue to move forward.
Again, Rick Carlisle with us here. Pacers and Bulls tonight, their first game back from a long road trip. I was kind of reminded at the game last night, both teams certainly was looking over the bench to their respective laptop challenge areas throughout that game. You brought it out. The camera had a great shot of it. You brought it out during the Atlanta game during a timeout. I assume for some sort of teaching method. Is that something you do a a lot? And I guess in regards to that specific situation, what are you trying to go for when you in game are looking at a specific whatever play or sequence of plays within a timeout, not necessarily a challenge situation?
But we have the ability to bring, the laptop out at any time. It's legal, and I mean we bring it out virtually every time out. A lot of times it's concealed, within the crowd of players around the bench, around the coach's seat or whatever. But a lot of times Jim Boylan will bring up a defensive clip, and he'll place the laptop on my chair before I get in there, and they'll talk about it. And a lot of times it'll be a defensive coverage. More likely in recent games, it's a transition defense clip. Transition defense has really probably become the most important coverage in the NBA now because teams are playing so fast. And it's not like the old days where you run back and you get your man. Now you've got to run back and get a man. And so where it becomes challenging is a lot of times with the centers because they've been taught all their lives to run back and protect the rim. And now you've got to get a man. And a lot of times the center is late getting down. Sometimes the center now is the first guy down in the corner. And when your center is the defensive guy and he's getting back and he's gravitating toward the rim, and then there's a wide open guy playing a small forward position on top that he should be guarding, that's trouble. That's 3 points. And so communication and all that kind of stuff has become even more important.
Rick Carlisle with us here again. Pacers Bulls tonight inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They'll have a couple days off, and then it'll be Atlanta again as they play a few home games here before trade deadline and All-Star break coming up in February. I was listening yesterday to Tyrese Halliburton on LeBron's podcast, Coach, and I'm always blown away, frankly, when Tyrese is talking about the game of basketball. And we played the audio a little bit earlier. He brought up specifically trying to learn a little bit, from a guy like Peyton Pritchard or going back to Austin Reeves when they were together on the World Cup and wanting to get to the foul line a little bit more, how to use your body contact, things like that as a driver. Has that been a conversation you guys have had here? As he obviously rehab is the first priority, but as he, gets back and playing coming up next season?
Yeah, I mean, going through an injury like this is a really difficult thing, obviously, but it presents an amazing opportunity, to study, to look back at, things that you've done well to establish yourself. In his case, I mean, he's one of the 15 best players in the world. That's that's been stated, it's been voted on, and everything else. But the greatest players are the ones that keep studying how to get better and keep growing. And so, getting to the free throw line is really important. One of the reasons we were able to beat Oklahoma City last week was, they shot 30 free throws or whatever, but in the first game we played them, Gilgeous-Alexander shot 26 by himself. And so, we were able to keep his number of free throws, far lower than it had been. So it's such a potent weapon. And think about it, you're scoring points while the clock is stopped and no one is guarding you. So, he's thinking about the right things, and he's been working very hard on everything.
I don't know if I have the exact title right, but I know Ty has talked about Jamie Rubin, who I think is like sports psychology for you guys, doing some team wellness stuff. And I'm curious, like going back to Friday and the Oklahoma City game and, Ty not coming to that game, was that like a big conversation that you had with them? Is that more of a Jamie Rubin conversation? I guess, how much do you dip your toes into that aspect of, him going through the mental aspect of this rehab?
Well, we're appropriate and we're necessary. I don't try to get in everybody's business all the time.
Sure.
In that case, Ty had talked to me about a couple of things, and one of them was the Oklahoma City game, and he just he asked if he could miss that game. He just wasn't ready to go back to that venue for obvious reasons, and I said, of course, no problem. And then he was going to join us in Atlanta, and then all the weather stuff happened, and then of course, look, the southern cities, aren't very well equipped for storms and snow and stuff like that. And I mean, you'll find this interesting, like, in whatever day it was, Sunday, we had a practice at 11 on Sunday. And then, the football games are on in the afternoon. So the Patriots, game's on first, and then the Seahawks game is on second. And so I'm in the hotel room trying to find the Patriots game on the CBS channel, and all they have on the CBS channel is emergency weather stuff the whole day. The game was never on, and so I had to watch the game on my laptop, on YouTube TV on my laptop in the hotel room. And ironically, it was cold in Atlanta, but it didn't. There was a little bit of rain on Saturday night. On Sunday, it was cold. And then I get word that, the Hawks want to move the game up to like noon or something like that on Monday. And we couldn't do that because of our plane being ready to go after the game. And so we settled on 1:30 to move the game up. So we get to Monday, and it's sunny out. There's not even any precipitation. And so, we played the game early, which was a blessing, certainly of sorts, because we've been on a long trip and we were able to get home to our houses at, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. But it was, a lot of it was much ado about not very much with the weather. And then we played a very unusual game, on a Monday afternoon in downtown Atlanta. And so, there you go.
It was funny. They were showing like shots outside of the arena, is coming back from breaks. And I was like, wait, this is why, this is what they're dealing with right now. Weather-wise, slightly different than probably Ogdensburg, New York growing up, I would say.
Well, back in Ogdensburg, we used to get tons of snow. We were on the St. Lawrence River, and I don't know if that produced lake effect or whatever, but we used to get feet of snow. And we got a lot of snowfalls like they got here in Indy while we were gone. And the snowbanks were piled up, 8-10 feet high, and so that was real snow. But a lot of things have changed. And as I got into aviation 10 or 12 years ago, I started learning about the weather. I mean, a lot of things have changed with weather patterns, and so we're in a world that's constantly changing. But you asked a question about Tyrese in Oklahoma City, and I went all the way over to trying to find a football game and weather reports and sunny conditions in Atlanta. So fortunately for us, we were able to get out of there in decent time after the game and get home. And man, oh man, it did snow here.
That is an understatement to say the least there. Next year, should I pencil you in? You and I making the trip up US 31, Virginia, Notre Dame?
Yeah, I may let the urge pass on that. It's a very long trip, and I don't know what our schedule is going to be.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say it's a definite no. But the game was 3 hours long. I mean, and I'm watching the game on my desktop computer, and I'm sitting there with my laptop doing some prep work for Chicago, and there was just one compelling thing after another, and I was a little surprised there's not very many people in the stands there. What's going on there?
I know it's always frustrated me. The lack of fandom, the lack of passion is really. I mean, I get it, South Bend, Indiana, and the weather isn't great, but still, top 25 UVA team. Yeah, I was frankly frustrated by that.
17.
Right. Yeah.
Did you go to Notre Dame, or what's your fixation or fascination with it?
I'm too dumb and too poor. My mom's uncle taught there, and the trickle-down effect instilled the fandom into our family. So my brother's 5.5 years older, and he said, "We will be Notre Dame fans." So first day of kindergarten, I rocked the Lou Holtz shirt, and from then on, I think growing up in the state, honestly, I have more basketball fandom than I do football fandom, which sounds weird to say about Notre Dame.
Well, there's quite a basketball tradition too, if you go back and all that. But
yeah, Digger was in the building last night.
Yeah, wow, interesting. Gosh, he must be. How old is he now?
I think we looked it up. I want to say mid-80s, but he's right there on press row, like second row, press row behind Notre Dame's basket. He's there pretty much every game. I see him on TV almost every game, and was moving and mingling with people, and looked to be doing great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, good luck tonight, Coach. Glad you guys got home safe, and we'll chat next week.
Okay, thanks. Take care.
Rick Carlisle, Mark Dykton. Wouldn't say it's a definite no.
No, I think the door is open for next year. I think you give him a little heads up next year, maybe see what the Pacers' schedule is, and hopefully that falls into like a couple days off or something like that. And he seemed to leave the door open. He could have told you,
I can't say I appreciate the question, but I acknowledge the question.
Yeah, I would say
that wasn't the case at all.
I've had co-eds respond to texts from me back in the day a little harsher than Rick Carlisle just answered that invite.
He said, I wouldn't say it's a no.
Yeah.
So I would say dip your toe in the water next year once the schedule comes out and, see if he's interested.